Well, hello everybody. I trust you're all doing well. It's been a couple of weeks since our last lockdown video. I don't know about you, but I've completely lost track of the weeks. I don't know whether we're on 6, 7 or 8 of lockdown. Anyway, I'm sure it's the same for you. This week we have some music for you, and of course we'll be hearing from some of our core players as well. Now, as a new strand of video contribution, I've asked players to send in stories about concerts where things have not gone according to plan, so where things have gone wrong. You're probably aware that the classical music world can be fairly serious and disciplined, so when things do go wrong, it can feel like an absolute catastrophe, because it's not really supposed to happen like that. Now, we all have these stories, and musicians tend to swap them like war tales. Personally, I love it when things go wrong. Well, I quite like it. If you deal with it in the right way, I think it makes everyone realise that you're human, that we're all human, and that's a good thing. So to get us underway, and in the interest of full disclosure, here's a little disaster story of mine. I was a student at the Bern Conservatoire in the 90s in Switzerland, and I was studying there with Igor Rozin. His class was quite highly regarded, I suppose, at the Conservatoire. They were pleased to have it there, and his students were often called on to perform in various groups. There was a singing teacher. He wanted 2 violinists from the class to play with a singer and a harpsichord player. We were pretty blasé about it because it seemed to be a simple task. The time signature of this early Baroque piece was something like 4/2, so it was minims instead of crotchets, which can be confusing. We had about 20 bars rest at the start of the piece, which is crucial. The rehearsals were easy, there were no problems whatsoever. In the performance, however, we both lost count in the opening bar's rest. We didn't come in at all. The piece finished and we bowed. We walked off without having played a single note. Now, I often wonder what the audience thought seeing these 2 violinists come on stage with the other players, do absolutely nothing, take a bow and walk off. Strange. Needless to say, we were never asked again.
Hello there, my name's Oliver Galletta and I'm the second bassoon in Orchestra of the Swan. I've got a funny tale of when I was at school. I went to Wells Cathedral School on the specialist music scheme, and in my final year of sixth form I was playing in the school symphony orchestra, and we were playing Shostakovich 5, and I was playing contrabassoon in that piece, and the middle slow movement is strings only, and it's a gorgeous slow beautiful movement, and obviously there's no contrabassoon, so I was sat there quietly listening to the lovely music, and halfway through the movement there was this almighty crash, and it sounded like a pair of cymbals had been dropped, and I looked around to see what it was, because the sound was reverberating round Wells Cathedral, and it was completely packed. There must have been over 1,000 people there, and having looked around, I noticed the bell, the detachable metal end of the contrabassoon was rolling off down the aisle next to me, and it turned out that the person in the first half who was playing contra hadn't tightened the bell onto the instrument tightly enough, and unfortunately during the really quiet slow movement it decided to fall off, and the noise was deafening, and I was absolutely mortified and wanted the ground to eat me up, and so unfortunately I just had to sit there and pretend it wasn't me, and unfortunately the recording of that night was thoroughly ruined due to my instrument falling apart. So unfortunately that was my that was my tale, and hope you've enjoyed it, and hope everyone is staying safe and well in lockdown. Take care. Cheerio.
Hi, I'm Di, Principal Flute with the Orchestra.
Hi, I'm Sally, Principal Clarinet with the Orchestra.
And I'm currently in Gloucester.
And I'm currently in Ashby de la Zouch.
So Sal, would you like a drink?
Oh, I'd love one, Di, please.
There you go.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hey, cheers. Hey, Di, do you remember? Do you remember that time we were in Bournemouth, the Bournemouth Festival? Many years ago. It was a beautiful red hot sunny day, and we were all in our concert clothes, all ready to play lunchtime concert, and we decided to go and have a look at the beach and a paddle on the beach, because it was a very hot day, so we thought we needed to dip our toes in the cold sea. So we did. Got concert trousers on. We placed our shoes quite a way up the beach, actually. So they'd be nice and safe up the beach. Then we had a great paddle, and then we looked round, and there must have been a big wave, because our shoes were definitely not safe up the beach. They were bobbing up and down on the sea, weren't they? They were. Di went, "Oh no, look at our shoes," and we both just laughed.
It was terrible. I remember, because we'd got very wet feet, our trousers were wet, our shoes, well, were in the sea. So I just remember doing that lunchtime recital with very wet feet and slowly drying trousers that left a wavy salt line, didn't it, as the seawater dried. That's terrible. Oh gosh, can you remember outdoor concerts? Outdoor concerts quite often can cause problems. We were doing a magic flute outdoors, and at the end in the march there's a big flute solo. Well, there are a few obviously flute solos in the magic flute, and a great big moth was attracted to the light, and it landed on my lip plate, because maybe it liked the moisture, and I just couldn't breathe, because I knew that if I'd taken a deep breath I would have breathed in this huge moth. It was disgusting. So I could just sniff bits of air, and I was ducking and diving around the place trying to shake this moth off. But when I carried on, I played the whole thing, I didn't stop. But when we got to the end, my friends were saying, God, Diane, you were really into it tonight, weren't you? Because I was moving around so much. But I managed to keep playing.
But, well, yeah, you did that time, but wasn't there something else happened in Magic Flute? On another occasion, it's obviously doomed, isn't it, Magic Flute?
Yeah, there was another instance with another group with a reduced orchestra. We were touring, weren't we? And it was the solo where the prince was summoning the gods. So it's just flute, nothing else. And the conductor usually gave me a cue, but it was obvious this day he wasn't going to give me a cue. But we were placed luckily in front of the stage, so I was able to lift my flute over the horn player's stand and light, and I looked to see when the prince started playing his flute on stage and started playing. But when I came back, I forgot to lift my flute over the stand, so I hit the stand and it flew off my lip. But I just couldn't recover. I tried to play, but I just couldn't. I just got terrible giggles. I got no help from the rest of the orchestra. They were all absolutely corksed, not supporting at all. So basically, I just totally wrote off the solo.
I think wasn't the prince on the stage shaking his flute because it wasn't working?
Broken. Yes. Anyway, enough about me. You confess now to something that happened on your way to a clarinet quartet. Yeah, it was a clarinet quartet stroke saxophone gig, so we had quite a lot of instruments and we were packing them all in the back of the car, me and John, a colleague, and so we had saxophones, clarinets, so the boot was quite full. We thought we'd put everything in, set off, and we lived in a crescent at the time, so we reversed out, and it was as we were coming back out the crescent, I said to John, what's that in the road outside the house? And it was my clarinet case, and it didn't just there was a clarinet case which had 3 clarinets in it, an A, a B flat and an E flat. So we went over to have a look, hoping that we hadn't driven over it, but unfortunately we'd reversed over the clarinet case that we forgot to put in the boot. Oh, that hurts so much. So hang on, you say we reversed over it?
Okay, I reversed over. I was driving, but yeah, we forgot to put it in the boot. I crushed quite little bits of it, shall we say. And then when I was filling out the insurance claim form, that was quite interesting. Filling out the section that asks you why you're claiming. I guess I have to confess that I'd reversed over my clarinets. So yeah, we're a disaster area, aren't we?
I think after that you need a drink. Cheers.
Cheers, Di.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Hope to see you soon.